Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm standing here in front of our main off-grid homestead that we live in. This is located in the northern portion of the Lower Peninsula of Michigan, close to the 45th parallel. Barb has done a couple of videos now of our little, we call it the outpost cabin in our property in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. That's a place we just love to escape to, go and relax. It's very remote, very small, very simple and rustic off-grid. But this is where we live the rest of our lives. This cabin here, we call it a cabin because it is small, but it's way back in the woods. We're about 1,000 feet off of any road. And this is what we built back in 2020, at the end of the summer of 2020, due to various events. We bought this property in 2018. We were originally going to build a conventional on-grid house here on this property, but through a series of events, this transpired. So what we did here was we built a small little place that we could get to. And we weren't originally thinking we were going to live here full time, but as we developed things, we really found out we enjoy this type of lifestyle. Everybody's version, it's been debated so many times what's considered off-grid. We're not connected to any utilities. We self-sustain all of our own stuff. We have our own water source, we have our own electrical source. We garden, we forage, we hunt, just everything that goes along with that lifestyle. But I just kind of want to do a little show here of the cabin that we have, that we live in, and what we're doing, if we can be an encouragement to anybody. We're going to show some of the systems that we use. We're not really going to go into a tour of the inside of the cabin at this time. If you want to see a good video tour of that, Brooke Whipple from Girl in the Woods, she came this spring and did a interview of Barb and I and what we're doing here, and she did a really nice job of it. We'll leave a link to that video in the description below. Encourage you to check that out. But this is our small little cabin that we have. It's the main body of the cabin is 16 wide, 24 deep, 10-foot sidewalls. It's a post frame build. We kind of built it like a small little pole barn back in the woods because that's what we wanted it to look like, because we didn't know if we were going to stay here full time or if we're going to be leaving at periods of time. We wanted to lock and secure it up, and that was just the idea that we had, for better or for worse. We like the style of it. We also like the low maintenance of the steel exterior. Log cabins are beautiful. I love log cabins, but this is something that we want to do in a really time efficient manner, and something that was low maintenance and we could come and go as we pleased. Turns out we've been here more than we've been gone. We've been here living now for 2.5 years full time. So along with that, we built the front porch on there. Originally it wasn't enclosed, but when it came to wintertime, we realized we needed a decent space to be able to store the snow clothes, the boots, all that mess that goes along with it, the firewood. So that's been a big blessing. Summertime, we're able to open all those windows, sit and enjoy a cup of coffee, listen to the birds in the morning. And then we'll take a look at the back. We got a lean-to back there, also half enclosed and insulated and heated. That's where we keep our solar and our water source, and the other half is open. But just kind of want to show you what we got going on here and take you through a tour of it, and maybe it'll help and encourage anybody out there. So one of the main things that you need when you're living anywhere is a clean water source. So we were blessed enough to have a conventional well drilled on this property. We had this done way back in 2019. This is up 400 feet north of the current cabin that we live in, up at the location where we're originally going to build a conventional homestead. Whenever I develop a property, I like to make sure that we do have water, a good water source and reach water. So we had them put this in, and we had them hook it up originally with a 120 volt well pump, so we can run it off a 2,000 watt generator, because Barb was starting to garden out here and stuff, and we wanted to be able to water that. And they had a pressure tank just sitting next to it. When we decided that we were going to just live in the off-grid property and we wanted a constant water source through the winter, they are able to put down a buried pressure tank. So the pressure tank is buried under the ground, have a water faucet to that. And originally we were just running, had a wired up here, we would turn on the generator when we needed to pressurize the pressure tank. However, I did a little bit of experimenting research, and I bought a big roll of 18 gauge UV wire. I ran that from the cabin up to here, hooked it up to the 2,000 watt generator, and tested the voltage, we had 125 volts. So I said, well, if a 2,000 watt generator can run that, why can't a 2,000 watt inverter? So that's what we've been running for the last 2.5 years. And it's worked out really well for the amount of time that we actually need to use the well. So we'll go back and take a look at some of the other systems that we have in place. So we're back in what I call our little utility room. It's a lean-to off the back of the cabin. It's 8x8 and we insulated it. And then we did put this little blue flame heater in here. In the wintertime we had that set really low. And it maintains at about 40 degrees, which is adequate to keep the water from freezing. And it also keeps our lithium ion batteries happy. We'll go into that a little bit later. But from the well, we had it trenched down here to a frost-free hydrant. I do like this option because if we have any time we want to leave for a period of time during the winter months, we're able to shut that hydrant off. It drains out below the frost level. And then I put a little valve on here, a little stopcock that we can hook our air compressor right to. And maybe 10 minutes, we have all the lines blowed out and we have the house winterized. Just makes it a convenient way to be able to leave. From there, it goes up to a hot and cold system, and it's to a on-demand portable water heater. I know a lot of people run these inside. If you're running for small use, I mean, that's the fun of off-grid living. Everything is at what you decide to do. You make it or break it on your own, living on your own terms. We put this in due to being in this closed space and then having some penetrations to the wall. Even after we blocked them off with foam, if Barb did a lot of dishes and we also took showers, if it was run for any length of time, our carbon monoxide detector would continue going off in the house. So that's not good. So it does have a vent system, so I just took some Class B vent, vented it out the sidewall there, and haven't had a problem with it since. So this here is our solar system. It's not what we originally started with. When we first looked into the idea of running things off of solar power, we had no idea how it all worked together. One thing we knew is that the sun had something to do with it. So we had to do a lot of research, watch a lot of videos, and we started out with a much smaller system than this. We really didn't know what our needs were. It was a relatively inexpensive system. It was a plug and play. Had the charge controller, the inverter, and a charger all in one. It's a really easy way to start. We had that with six volt batteries, golf cart batteries that we bought from Costco, and we have 400 watts of solar panels on that. Once we started living here and decided that we were gonna bite the bullet, do this full time, we realized we really needed to upgrade our system. So after a lot of research, this one seemed to be the best for us. We got a Victron inverter charger. I recommend something combined with a charger to anybody that lives in a cloudy area in the wintertime. It's just an easy way to be able to charge your batteries when you're not getting sufficient solar. This one's 2,000 watts. I know a lot of people go with a lot bigger than that, but it runs everything we need, including running the well pump. Our charge controller is a Victron Smart Solar, which is really nice because it hooks right up to your phone and you can see exactly what your system's doing, how much you're using, what you have in your battery life, how much solar you've been making. This is a 150/85 charge controller. Then we have that hooked into 4 lithium-ion battle-borne batteries. 100 amp hours each, so a total of 400 amp hours. After learning more about batteries, I never realized this. Even the deep cycle lead acid batteries, they'll have a rating for amp hours, but you're really only able to use 50% of that, because once you draw them down below that, you start destroying the batteries. These we can use the full amount, and they say with normal uses, this type of system should last you about 20 years. I looked it up. The average daily consumption of kilowatts for a single person in the United States is 12 kilowatt hours, more or less something like that per day. We are able to track how much kilowatts of energy we make. We're about the max that we made per one day was 3 kilowatts. So that's the consumption that we're using. So you learn how to conserve, you learn what to do without, and you just learn how to make the system work for you. Like I was saying, we do run our well pump off from our solar system, but that's what's just daily use in the house. We do have a pressure tank. Once the well runs, it takes 45 seconds to a minute to fill that pressure tank up, and that's sufficient for a couple people to take a decent shower. But when it comes summertime, we got to do a lot of watering in the garden. Barb's got a very big garden. This is a system I added in here. It's just a easy transfer switch. You can plug that directly into your generator, hit the switch over, and then your well pump's running only off your generator, and it doesn't tax our solar system near as much that way. Just other ideas to throw out there. For the solar power itself, we have 2 arrays of solar. Each one is 1,000 watts each. So we have the potential of generating 2,000 watts of input into our system. Like I said, we are in the woods of northern Michigan, so we did have to cut a few trees down to make a solar window. Right now there's not much solar going on at all. It's pretty cloudy out. We cut down what we needed. We could open it up more. There's different systems to be able to track the sun. But with the 2,000 watt potential we have here, at least during the summertime, by 1 o'clock usually in the afternoon, our system's at float and at 100% capacity. So what we have seems to be working. We could adjust them more, we could clear out more, but we haven't needed to so far, so this is what we got set up. We did a ground mount system. There's many different ways to mount solar panels. There's roof mount versus ground mount. We chose ground mount. It's just easier to do, and it's also, when you got snow, it's an easier way to clear the snow off from. Well, I used to mount them, I picked this up from YouTube also. These are cattle panels. Not gates, but the actual corral panels that they have for making a cattle pen. And when you take those and you take an 1 5/8" muffler clamp, those fit perfectly onto there. And then we clamped all those on there, put them on top of some posts, and we're able to swivel those up and down as we need to for the various seasons, from summer to winter settings, to get the optimum we have. But like I said, our batteries are full by early afternoon, so I consider it good enough for what we need. This is a generator system we have. I love having a dual fuel generator, having options. I always love options. We run this one off of propane. I don't think this generator here has ever had gasoline in it. I do like the idea of propane. It's a cleaner running fuel, but it's also a more stable fuel. It won't go bad on you. I think it has a shelf life of like 1,000 years or something like that. But you never have to worry about your gas going bad, or if you leave it for a period of time or don't run it for a period of time of things coming up. So that's one option that I like there, is directly wired into our inverter charger. So when we do have periods of low light, insufficient solar, we're able to just turn that on, charge everything up, and that does a really nice job. We have a chest freezer back here. It's a 14 cubic foot DC chest freezer. And our refrigerator also runs off a 12 volt DC. We decided to go that way because we were able to run that off without using an inverter. One thing I learned as I was researching solar that I never had any idea about was that when your inverter is running, and actually just the inverter itself draws power. I think this one is one of the lower consumption ones that we have, but it still draws 14 watts of power continuously. So 14 watts doesn't seem like a lot, but over 24/7 running all the time, it really adds up. So in low solar conditions, or if we're gone for a period of time, we're able to shut the inverter off. You got our refrigerator, our freezer, and all our lights too are hooked up to just straight to the 12 volt. So we don't need to have that inverter running at all. I do have it set up with just a little fuse system. Each of the systems itself is set up off from that, have their own fuse to it, and that's been a good option. It's worked out really well for us also. Our main source of heat is a wood burning stove, which keeps the cabin almost too hot in the wintertime. We do have propane to run some of the systems, and for propane blue flame heater backup in the house when we're gone for any length of time. It keeps the house at a comfortable maybe 55 degrees. Or if the wood stove burns out through the night, it keeps it from getting too cold in there, keeps things from freezing up. But when we're there, when we're doing our stuff, we always run it with a wood heat. One of the nice things when you're thinking about what you're gonna build, what size you're gonna build, so then we got about 350 square feet of interior that we are heated. And this is the first time we heated with wood over a period of time. It's been 2 years, and we've been averaging probably at the most 4-face cord of wood to keep this thing heated through a Michigan winter. So when you're thinking of size and thinking of what you need to do, big isn't always better. So next we're going to move on to the sanitation system we have at our off-grid cabin. We have chosen to go with the outhouse. We don't mind an outhouse. We built it able to move it. It's on skids when we need to. It's larger than most typical outhouse build, a little bit fancier looking, but since we were going to be using it full time, this is something worth investing in. And we also do have a composting toilet system set up in our bathroom inside the cabin. It's a sawdust bucket system. It's primarily used by Barb in the wintertime if you need to use facilities in the middle of the night when it's cold outside. She uses that, but I continue to use the outhouse. I don't mind doing that. And for our gray water system, we tried a couple different options over the time that we were there. We first tried a system we had seen on YouTube. It was basically taking a 55-gallon plastic barrel and you cut it in half vertically and lay them out end to end, and your gray water runs into that. And we tried that. It worked for a while. I don't know if we did something wrong, but the biomass seemed to plug up the drain field area after a period of time, and it started to fail. After trying a couple different things, looking at different stuff, we decided to go with these biochambers. We bought them from Menards. Last I looked, they're about $60 a piece, so we set those. We rented a mini excavator, dug a nice long trench. We're about 2 foot under grade there, and our gray water drains into there. These are just basically the same concept, but with the open bottom and the louvered sides. Gives you a little more drainage option, and being able to stack those together, we went from approximately, with the first system, about 12 square feet of soil drainage area to this one we have approximately 90 square feet soil drainage area. So this one has worked for us probably going on close to 2 years now without any problems. So we're real happy with this system. There's many different things to do, different ideas to try. You know, some of them might be more prescribed for if a cabin that you're at part-time. But when you're doing this full-time, this is what we found has worked best for us. We have no tank in the system because we don't put any black water in it. It's just a gray water drainage system. So we're going to wrap up this video with what we've decided to do for food storage. There's many different options out there, many different ways to do this. We do have the Solor freezer behind our cabin. Like I said, that's a 14 cubic square foot freezer. We're able to keep a fair amount in that. But we like to stock up on things. Barb has a garden. We do a lot of hunting and whatnot. So Barb does an incredible amount of canning. And we moved into this property originally at the end of the summer of 2020. Stayed there for the last few months before winter, but once winter came along, we realized that we were not prepared for that first winter there, so we were able to find a rental that we moved to for the winter season in northern Michigan. One of the big jobs, though, in moving into this rental is fully furnished, but we had to take all of Barb's canned goods with us, which was quite a move, because the canned goods, you don't want them to freeze. So we realized what was in head for us is we needed a place for freeze-proof storage. And we also like the idea of being able to come and go from our cabin. We haven't done a lot of that, but we do like the option just to be able to pack up and leave at a moment's notice to go off and do whatever it is we need to do. So with all that canned goods, we wanted to figure out a way that we could store them, preserve them without having to worry about freezing and cracking and food going bad. So we realized, hey, a root cellar would be a good idea for us. We didn't really have a hillside close to the cabin build itself to be able to dig into. So, and I have no experience with laying block and bricks and building that way. So I decided, why not try and do it out of wood? So got a hole dug. We're approximately 7.5 feet below grade. I dug that hole down, and then I took Womanites 4x6, put them on 4-foot centers all the way around the build. The build is 8 foot wide, 16 foot long. And then after we've had those 4x4 posts in place, I went around the whole exterior with around those posts with V-groove Walmanized 2x6. Put those all the way up around there and braced it well and wrapped it around with house wrap, and then backfilled it. We have very sandy, well-draining soil there, and then finish off with a concrete floor in it. I said we're about 7 foot below grade, and I built Barb, started anyway, so building some built-in shelves down there, built out of a 2x12, so I'm able to handle any of the weight that she has. She started stacking her canned goods in there. We did that last fall, and over this past winter, we were able to, we kept an eye on the temperature, but everything stayed above freezing in there, and none of the liquids in the canned goods froze at all. Like I said, this is a wood build construction, so I thought, what are we going to do over the top of it? I don't really want to cover it over with aggregate, any sand or heavy material, so we thought, you know, we have a very small place here. We always wanted to build a small little guest cabin if our kids want to come up and spend a weekend or whatever with us, or any visitors come by. So the plan is we're going to have, there's a trap door in the floor that leads down into the root cellar. We're going to have a small guest cabin built over top, just a simple little place to sleep, place to sit. A nice little porch on it, but that'll shed the water away from the root cellar itself. And that's kind of the project we have going on right now. It's still in process, but hopefully in upcoming videos we can show you, give you a tour of the finished product of that. Thanks for watching, and if any of this is helping you or people like these videos, please like and subscribe. Helps the channel, and we'll see you next time. Remember, go out, enjoy yourself, and just experience a different kind of quiet.